Did you know that 99.9% of people believe that at least 50% of what happens in their lives is pure chance? But what if I told you that this belief is one of humanity's greatest illusions, and that understanding this could completely transform the way you live? In this video, you'll learn everything you need to know about the principle of causality, one of the most powerful and transformative laws in Hermetic knowledge. My name is Noah, and you're on the Hermes Code channel, where you learn how to apply the universal principles of the Kybalion in real life. Over the next 15 minutes, I'm going to show you why chance is an illusion. You'll understand how everything in the universe is interconnected, discover the role of universal intelligence, learn the difference between causes and effects, and finally, understand how to consciously evolve and become the master of your own destiny. Stick with me. Today's video will open your mind in ways you never imagined. Let's start by breaking down the idea that chance governs our lives. That belief is one of the biggest lies we carry. Chance, my friend, is simply a name we give to a law we haven't recognized yet. It's nothing more than the exact measure of our ignorance. When we say, "What a coincidence," we're actually admitting that we can't see the connections that made that event inevitable. Think about it. Nothing ever came from nothing, and nothing disappears into nothing. Nature abhors a vacuum. It doesn't leave empty spaces or allow for gaps. Everything that exists came from somewhere and will lead to something else. Fritjof Capra, the famous physicist, uses a brilliant analogy to explain this. He says believing in randomness is like taking an old computer, throwing it down a staircase, and expecting it to arrive at the bottom transformed into the most modern, advanced computer ever made. Absurd, right? But that's exactly what we do when we attribute complex and perfectly organized events to chance. When you really think about any situation in your life, that random meeting that changed everything, that opportunity that came out of nowhere, that problem that appeared out of the blue, you'll find there's an entire chain of events, decisions, and circumstances that made it inevitable. The issue is that we don't have the capacity to trace all those connections. Our limited minds can't process the infinite complexity of universal interactions. So, out of mental laziness or lack of discernment, we label everything as luck, bad luck, or coincidence. But here's the crucial point. When you stop believing in chance and start looking for the real causes, your life changes completely. You stop being a victim of circumstances and start becoming the architect of your reality. The first step is to develop your discernment. Stop accepting ready-made explanations. Question things. Investigate. Look for patterns. When you start asking about the meaning behind things, they stop seeming random and begin to reveal their inner logic. Now that we're ready to look at chance from a different angle, let's understand how this universal web of connections works. Phenomena in the universe are uninterrupted, where being touches being. Anything that vibrates, no matter how small, will resonate somewhere. It's like throwing a stone into a lake. The ripples spread out to the edges, even if you can't see them. And here's a realization that'll at least make you think twice about all this. Not a single thought crosses your mind without having some effect. Every thought is a vibration, an energy that radiates and interacts with other energies. You don't just think something and that's the end of it. Your thoughts are causes that create effects, even if you don't realize it. Remember the movie Gladiator? What we do in life echoes in eternity. That line isn't random. It's quantum physics applied to real life. All your actions, words, thoughts, and even intentions send out waves that ripple through the fabric of reality. But let's be practical. Something triggered the thoughts in your head right now. You didn't just wake up today with ideas completely disconnected from what you experienced yesterday, last week, or even years ago. There's a continuity, a logic, a sequence that links it all together. Life works like a spiral dynamic. It always circles back to the same point, but with a little more depth. The same themes, the same challenges, the same opportunities keep coming back. But each time, you have more tools to deal with them. That happens because everything is interconnected. There are no vacuums, no isolated events. Every moment is the child of the one before and the parent of the one that follows. Each experience carries the seeds of future experiences. That's why it's so important to pay attention to the patterns in your life. From now on, pay closer attention to those problems that keep repeating themselves, those situations you swear you'll never go through again, but somehow, they always happen. They're trying to show you something. They're inviting you to evolve, to break the cycle, to rise a step higher on the spiral. When you start to see these connections, your life stops being a string of random events and becomes a coherent narrative. You realize that each chapter sets up the next, that each challenge is a stepping stone, that every encounter is a piece of the bigger puzzle. Have you ever noticed a pattern that keeps repeating in your life? A situation that always seems to come back, even if slightly different each time? Share your experience in the comments below. I'd love to hear how these connections show up in your reality. Now let's go even deeper. If there's a spark of intelligence within you, that means the entire universe is ordered. In Hermeticism, we must always remember that the micro reflects the macro. As above, so below. Think about it. You have consciousness, you can reason, make decisions, create, love. That intelligence within you didn't come from nowhere. It's a localized expression of something much greater, the universal intelligence that permeates everything. And here's the crucial point. If you have intelligence, it's because intelligence is a fundamental property of reality. And if reality is intelligent, it cannot be chaotic. It must be ordered, organized, and governed by precise laws. It's like a cell in your body. For it to survive and fulfill its purpose, everything around it must be in order. The blood's pH, body temperature, oxygen supply, toxin removal, all of it has to work in harmony. If just one variable gets out of control, the cell dies. In the same way, for intelligence to exist within you, the entire universe has to be operating within extremely precise parameters. The laws of physics, mathematical constants, fundamental forces, everything has to be perfectly calibrated. And you know what that means? That in the mind of the Absolute, there is no such thing as big or small. To universal intelligence, a galaxy and a subatomic particle are equally important. Everything, no matter how small it may seem, plays a crucial role in the whole. To understand this better, think about cancer. What is cancer? It's simply a cell that became disordered, that stopped following the collective program and decided to go its own way. The result? It puts the entire organism at risk. Likewise, when we fall out of alignment with universal laws, when we act as if we're separate from the whole, we create disorder not just in our own lives, but in the greater fabric of reality. The existence of the whole as an absolute brings with it some serious implications for how we live. We can no longer pretend we're isolated islands. We can't keep acting as if our choices don't affect anything beyond ourselves. Every thought you have, every word you speak, every action you take is contributing either to the order or the disorder of the whole. You are simultaneously a cell in the cosmic body and a unique expression of universal consciousness. When you truly internalize this, your life takes on a completely new meaning. You realize you're not here by accident, that you have a specific role to fulfill, and that your existence matters in the grand scheme of things. Now let's explore one of the most important and practical laws in Hermeticism, the law of causality. Helena Blavatsky once said, "There is always freedom in the field of causes, but in the field of consequences, not even the gods can intervene." What does that mean in practical terms? It means you have full freedom to plant the seed, but you can't choose what kind of fruit it will bear. You can choose your actions, but you can't escape the results of those actions. Here's a powerful insight to reflect on. Nothing is without consequence. Nothing is truly innocent. Every single thing generates some kind of outcome. In one way or another, we are all responsible for the seeds we plant for tomorrow, in every aspect of our lives. But be careful not to oversimplify the idea of cause and effect. Things don't produce other things in a linear way. What really happens is that links follow links, successive stages of the manifestation of the universal law. Each element fulfills its role at the right moment, but they aren't complete or direct consequences of what came before. Let me explain it more clearly. You are not simply a product of what came before. Your parents, your upbringing, your past experiences, all of that shaped the conditions for who you are now, but they didn't completely determine you. Your past experiences created the ground, prepared the soil, set the stage. But what's happening now is a new manifestation of the law, a new expression of universal consciousness operating through those conditions. It's like the seed and the tree. The seed doesn't become a tree by itself. It contains the conditions for life to express itself as a tree. The tree is a new creation, a new expression of nature's intelligence taking form through causes that go beyond just planting the seed. In the same way, your past experiences created the conditions for who you are today. But who you are today is a fresh manifestation of universal consciousness working through those conditions. You're not a slave to the past, but you also can't ignore the conditions it created. This means you have real power over your life, but that power operates within universal laws. You can choose how to respond to the conditions you've inherited. You can choose what kind of cause you want to be. You can decide what seeds you want to plant. But once you've planted the seed, the law takes care of the rest. You can't plant thorns and expect roses. You can't sow discord and expect harmony. You can't cultivate negative thoughts and expect positive results. Freedom lies in the choice of causes. Responsibility lies in accepting the consequences. Now we've arrived at the most practical and transformative part. How you can use this knowledge to consciously evolve and become the master of your own destiny. Human evolution functions like a series of concentric circles. At the center lies your spiritual essence, your true identity, your deepest self. The closer you are to the center, the more able you are to consciously generate new causes. The farther you are, the more you become an unconscious executor of what your environment dictates. Most people live on the outer edge of those circles. They simply run the life script they were handed. They're programmed by family, society, the media, and circumstances. They react automatically, follow established patterns, and live on autopilot. But here's the secret: being part of the masses is a choice. You can choose to stay on the outer edge, drifting with the current, or you can choose to walk toward the center and take conscious control of your existence. There's a powerful quote from the book The Light on the Path. The slaves of the great law of the world are the masters of the manifested world. What a fascinating contradiction, right? What does it mean? That when you consciously align yourself with the universal laws, when you stop resisting them and begin working with them, you gain real power over your manifested reality. It's like learning to sail. You can't control the wind, but you can learn to use your sails to go where you want. You can't change the laws of nature, but you can learn to work with them to create the life you desire. The first step is to start building yourself through an act of will and with clear principles. Stop being purely reactive. Start being proactive. Instead of merely responding to external stimuli, begin to generate intentional causes. This means developing discernment, the ability to judge things based on your own understanding, not just on what others tell you. It means questioning, investigating, thinking for yourself. It also means taking full responsibility for your life. There's no more room to play the victim of circumstances. You understand that, in some way, you help to create everything that exists in your current reality. And most importantly, it means beginning to sow consciously. Every thought, every word, every action becomes an intentionally planted seed in the garden of your future. When you live this way, you become a conscious collaborator with universal intelligence. You're no longer just a piece on the board. You become an active player in the game of life. If this content resonated with you and you believe it can help others understand these universal laws, share this video with those who are ready for this reflection. Let's spread true knowledge. Today we saw that by understanding the principle of causality and letting go of the belief in chance, you're on the right path to becoming the true architect of your reality. Remember the core message. There is no such thing as randomness, everything is connected, and you have the power to generate conscious causes. The universe is an intelligent network of causes and effects, and you can choose to be a conscious collaborator with this universal intelligence or remain an unconscious executor of your circumstances. The choice is always yours. You have complete freedom in the causes, and in the consequences, you reap exactly what you've sown. If this video changed your perspective on life, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss future content on Hermetic laws and spiritual development. And click on this video right here on the screen where I explain how to apply the principle of vibration in practice. Now tell me, what was your biggest insight about causality while watching this video? Leave your comment below. I'd love to know how this new understanding will impact the way you live. Thank you so much for watching all the way to the end. I'll see you in the next video. My name is Noah, and that was my contribution.